Hey everyone, I'm Kim, the mom boss behind EmeryandK. Welcome back to my channel. Today's tumbler tutorial is perfect for beginners, and we're going to be using this BAM glow-in-the-dark holographic vinyl. You guys, this stuff is nuts. I can't wait to show you. If I can do it, so can you. Let's get to it. Today we're using this really adorable template from Happy Fox Co. on Etsy. I will link her shop in the description box below. And we're using this incredible holographic glow-in-the-dark vinyl from Tech Wrap. I will have that linked in my bio as well, along with a discount code. I cut this on my Cricut Maker with just a regular holographic vinyl setting, and it cut wonderfully. So after you have your template, go ahead and resize it to the tumbler that you're going to be using. Today I'm using a 24-ounce plump from Steel Magnolia, so I sized it according to that. You can do this on any straight tumbler that you want to. It's totally up to you. So once we finish weeding this, we're going to go ahead and apply it to our tumbler. Now I am using, like I said, a 24-ounce plump from Steel Magnolia. This one came prepped. Otherwise, you would want to go ahead and give it a coat of white spray paint. We're not putting glitter or anything over this, so make sure you have a good coat of spray paint. But you could alternatively also use a color or a glitter. There's really no limits to the base that goes underneath this template. So we're going to go ahead and trim off that top part with the clouds. Grab some transfer tape. You want to stick it down. I like to do that by just folding like 1/2 inch of the backing away and then laying that down on the edge of my decal, and then just taking my vinyl squeegee and squishing it down the rest of my decal so that my transfer tape goes on nice and flat without a bunch of bubbles or wrinkles in my vinyl. So to apply this to your tumbler, I'm going to trim my transfer tape once it's on my decal. I'm going to trim it right along the top so that I can line it up nice and straight with the top of my tumbler. And then you'll tape down one side. You will carefully pull up your transfer tape on the opposite side of your tape. And that's where we're going to start applying our decal. Now, because this is a holographic vinyl, it's a little bit finicky to get started. I found anyways, but just take your time. You want to fold back about 1/2 inch to 1 inch of the backing. It doesn't matter how much. And then you're just going to trim it off. Just make sure that all those little lines, like just where they end, sometimes they don't like to stick to your transfer tape. So just take your time and you can do it, no problem. I'm going to use my vinyl squeegee and I'm just going to lay that right onto my tumbler. When you're doing this, make sure that the opposite end right there that you see me just double checking my lineup is not on your tumbler anymore, because you don't want to accidentally lay your decal onto your transfer tape from the other end of your pattern, if that makes sense. And so now, again, because this is a holographic, I'm going to kind of put some on my cup with my vinyl squeegee, and then I'm going to turn it onto my table. I'm going to pull back a few inches of my backing. Then I'm going to turn my cup again and push more onto my tumbler. You could also, if you wanted to, just kind of roll your tumbler onto your decal, but I just find the vinyl squeegee to be easier for me. So here I'm just kind of fixing. I had a little piece that didn't want to stick down to my transfer tape, and I didn't want it to get all squished when I went to apply it onto the tumbler. So this part in making your tumbler really is the most time consuming. But I promise, taking your time, making sure you get this on there correctly the first time is so worth it. So I'm just going to repeat this process here. You can see where it doesn't want to stick to my transfer tape, so we're just going nice and slow. I'm going to just pull off a few inches of my backing at a time, and I'm going to do that until the entire top of my tumbler is wrapped with my clouds. Now, as I get to the end, it's very, very important that you hold up that last inch or so of your decal and then pull up your transfer tape from the other side, because you don't want to lay your decal accidentally on top of your transfer tape. Been there, done that, and it's no fun. So I'm going to go ahead and lay the end, and then I like to take my hand, just kind of rub it around the other side and around the rest of the tumbler to just make sure that it is stuck down really well, and then you're going to carefully remove your transfer tape. Now, holographic vinyl can be picky. Sometimes it needs a little bit of extra love to stick to your tumbler, but just go nice and slow as you remove that transfer tape so you don't accidentally put a tear in your vinyl. If you find any little pieces coming up with your transfer tape, like I did just there, just gently push it down. Then you can go back through if you had any kind of little wrinkles or anything in your vinyl. This stuff's super forgiving. You can fix them if you need to. Now, this is the most time-consuming part, is putting on our rainbow stripes. So you're going to pick the colors that you want to use for your rainbow stripes. I decided to do kind of softer colors, so I did like a pink instead of a red, a softer orange, soft yellow, stuff like that, just ones that I kind of felt like went with the vibe I was feeling for my cup. But you can do any colors that you want to. You will cut them with the same exact template that you did your clouds and your pinstripes and your raindrops. And we're going to apply those one at a time. So the pink one, I'm going to line up right with the bottom of that pinstripe that ends the clouds. And then as far as the seam, I'm going to line up the seam for my rainbow stripes with the seam of my clouds, because I plan on putting a decal over my seam. And if there are any types of mistakes or anything like that on my seam, my decal will hide it. So you're just going to go through and put on each of your little rainbow stripe colors, just lining each one up with the edge of the stripe you did before it. Don't worry if you have like a little bit of space in between each one. We are going to put those pinstripes on here, and those will cover up any spaces that you have, but just try to get them nice and close so that everything will line up. And then once you've gotten all your little rainbow colors on, you're going to go in with your pinstripes that are cut out of that glow holographic and hand place those as well. So all in all, this part took me about a half an hour, but this was the first one that I did. I've done a few more since, and it takes me now about 15-20 minutes. So the first one always takes the longest. My biggest tip with these pinstripes is just to kind of roll your cup and let your vinyl kind of guide you where it needs to go. I find if I try too hard to make my pinstripes perfect that I get like these weird wonky like little waves and stuff in my pinstripes. So just kind of roll your tumbler and let your vinyl fall where it may. We're going to go ahead and finish up these pinstripes, and then we're going to put our raindrops on. So our raindrops, the process is going to be exactly the same as the clouds. You're going to put on your piece of transfer tape. One thing I did do was trim off that excess along the top because that kind of gets in the way. Now, this doesn't need to be lined up perfectly. The only thing I'm really concerned about is just making sure that I'm not accidentally putting any of my raindrops up onto my rainbow stripes. So just take your time, get your line up there. The seam on the raindrops also isn't super important because they're not connected, but I'm still going to line that seam up with the other seams on my tumbler. And as far as applying these, the process is exactly the same as what I did with the clouds. Pull back the backing, trim off a little piece, use your vinyl squeegee to push that onto your tumbler. And then these are, of course, a little bit easier than the clouds because there's less lines and little pieces. If you have one that ends up sticking to your transfer tape, you can always go back and hand place it. That's totally fine too. But I'm just going to peel my backing here. I actually just peeled the whole piece because this was super simple. I'm kind of holding it with one hand, pushing it on with my vinyl squeegee with the other. And this part was super quick and easy. The last thing, make sure that you don't overlap your decal onto your transfer tape at the beginning of your wrap. So we'll carefully remove this transfer tape, and then we are going to go in with our epoxy. Oh my goodness, this glow, I cannot get over it. So for my epoxy, I did decide to add a little dash of the Flash White mica powder from the Glitter Guy. I'm so sorry I forgot to record it, but it's super simple. You just mix up your epoxy. You add literally just a dash of the mica powder to your epoxy, mix it up and apply as normal, and it adds the most beautiful shimmer to your tumbler. For my decal, I ended up finding one in Cricut Design Space that I liked, but I ended up changing it a little bit. It said no rain, no flowers. I wanted my decal to say no rain, no rainbows. So I ended up detaching the sections of the decal. I removed the no flowers part and I typed up no rainbows in the font Clarity I got from Etsy. I will link it down below. I did a 0.03 offset, and my offset I cut out in white. And then for the top text on my decal, I cut it out in that same glow holographic. I'm going to layer it as I always do one word at a time. I'm sorry that my melon keeps getting in the way, but you guys know it's so hard for me to layer a decal with a camera in my face. So after my decal is layered, I'm gonna go ahead and do 2 more coats of epoxy on my tumbler, and it is finished. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you found this tutorial helpful, maybe a little bit inspirational. If you did, I would love a thumbs up on my video. If you want to see more tutorials in the future, please go ahead and subscribe to my channel. Until next time, happy crafting.